What is going on, Smite fans? I am here with Captaintwig, the jungle for the Camelot Kings, and we're going to be going through a little bit of a ranked jungle tier list. We've already done this once before with layers, but Twig, you've got a diverse god pool, and I'm interested to see what you have to say about these picks. So let's start it off. Let's go with Achilles. This is an assassin. This is a warrior in the jungle, obviously. It gets played a little bit. What do you think?
I'd say he's a solid middle of the pack to lower tier character, maybe like C for me.
Okay.
He's not going to carry you too many games. He just doesn't have that like AoE like carry potential. He'll get focused down in team fights and killed a lot. So I wouldn't really recommend it to a like starter jungler or carry jungler.
Okay, is he more of a counter matchup though? Because he's got some decent matchups into like Capri, for example.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of pressure, and he's good into revives.
Okay, all right. Well, another execute. This is just by nature of the picks, but quang is going to be the next option here. A mage jungle, sort of late game hard carry.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I kind of put him with Achilles, where he counters some revives and stuff.
Right.
But he's super low pressure. He will carry you games if you're a really confident jungler, though. So he's kind of better than Achilles in some ways for carrying, but worse for pressure. So put him in C with Achilles.
Okay, another run-of-the-mill. The early game, you want to make sure that you're online right now, and quang doesn't quite bring that.
That's right, yeah.
All right, but what about Baka? You whipped this out in the SPL.
I'm going to give him a B.
Okay.
Shell right now makes him a little worse than I'd like to put him in like A or something. So I'd give him a B. He's way strong early game. He can kill anyone on the map, and he's fast and easy.
Quick farming, that seems to be the name of the game right now in this meta. Arachne, though, this is sort of more of the cheese strat that we've seen right now, where you put some webs. You don't know where the webs are going to be, right? So you're putting the webs down at, like, I don't know, red buff or a back camp, then you can invade, that sort of thing. Is there some strength to this pick, or is it more just cheese?
There's a lot of cheese. I'd put him right behind Baka, maybe in B. Where you can hit level 2 quick and gank any lane in the game, and that can win you rank games. So I wouldn't recommend her for like learning Smite, but I'd recommend her for winning some cheap rank games.
All right, if you're trying to get some dubs, Arachne's certainly on the table. Bastet, though, this has to be a pretty strong pick. We've seen her a fair bit in the solo lane, but also in the jungle. What do you think?
She's recently got nerfs. But
that's true.
I would put her ahead of... I'm going to give her an A. She's kind of got a very dynamic, good gank kit. She's kind of a very rounded jungle. She clears fast. She's got pressure. She can kill anyone on the map. She forces beads. She kind of does everything. So she is a solid jungle.
Okay, well, Thor, however, has not soared that same amount of success. The ult is great, but if you're not hitting everything, you can't really get that value. What do you think about Thor?
The problem with Thor is he's very hard. His ult, if you don't land it, is useless. His hammer, if you don't land it, is useless, and it's also his escape. So I'm going to put him in C. I don't think he has a lot of pressure either. But if you get to that late game, hit one big ult, you'll just win the game.
Yeah, that is true. He has that hard carry potential just in the team fight setting. And then if they don't have beads, you can pretty much just 100-0. But as you mentioned, you got to make sure you land on those ults. Tsukuyomi, though. I haven't seen Tsukuyomi in quite some time. Why is that?
I think it's because he doesn't have a lot of pressure, and he's really easy to kill. His ult's his only CC immunity. He's got no dash. So I would put him in C, even though I think he's more fun to play than kind of the C tier would give him. But he's great if you can get to Bumba's hammer late game.
That's true. Late game, when you're resetting those cooldowns, a lot of fun. He's got a lot of range, but you're pretty much committing everything. If you're ulting, you better be winning that fight, or else you're probably just going to die.
That's right, yeah.
Shiva, though, we've seen a fair bit in the SPL now. Lots of pressure early. What do you think about Shiva?
For ranked, I'm going to say S is where I'd put him. He's got everything you want in the jungle. He can clear camps, he can clear crabs, he can do objectives, he can gank any lane in the game, and he's got that great team fight. So I'd put him as an S for ranked. Okay, do you think he's got a strong late game as well, as it more so just the early? I don't know if I'd say his late game's good. I'd say it's fine. It's just AoE, and it helps the team, or kills people, so it's just good enough.
All right, what about Susano, though? The quintessential, like, hard carry character you want to play if you want to 1v1 someone, but what does he bring to your team in ranked is the question.
I'd give him an A. He's actually got a lot of utility with his knockups, so he does have that setup while also being able to 100-0 anyone on the map. So he's just a solid ranked pick.
Do you think if you're hitting all the auto attack cancels and that obviously he's going to be here, but what if you don't know how to use Susano's kit to its fullest? Do you still think he could be played there?
If you're not auto-canceling, well, he definitely falls.
Okay, so make sure you're learning that is what I would say.
You have to just be hitting your 3-1 auto-cancels every time, basically.
All right, what about Thanatos, though? A very hit or miss character in my mind.
I don't want to pack out the C file, so but I do think actually, I'm going to go ahead and say he's D.
Okay.
You need to be an expert on
Right.
this character to be owning with him. He dies so easily since he's like Tsukuyomi, where he just has his ultimate to get away.
Right.
And if you're not hitting those sides every time, you're just going to die.
Yeah, if you're not hitting consistent death sites, even if you're just trying to be an execute bot, you can't really get the value of this character. All right, what about Circe, though? Because we saw her a lot in support.
Yep.
Some shifts to her kit. Now she gets played in the jungle, if at all. What's the deal?
It's a biased take. I think the character might be the worst of all the junglers
Wow,
right now.
okay.
The nerfs to her support kit ironically hurt her jungle even more. Her 3 is less range, and she just has less damage early game, which she needs.
Right.
You need to build a ton of damage for any of the changes to feel good in the jungle, and she's just got no pressure, and she loses to everyone at the start of the game.
So you're saying like D tier, or maybe even
Yeah,
E.
with Thana, I'd say.
Okay, so right there with Thana, yeah, the changes, not helping her out too much in that regard, so I understand that one. Sett, though, used to be on top of the world. Sett was
Absolutely.
arguably one of the most hard carry characters you could pick.
Yep.
Not seeing him too much now. Why is that?
It's hard to say. I've never been a Sett player, but I
Right.
do think you can make him work. I think I'd put him right next to Baka and Arachne, where he can carry a game by himself. He's kind of everything you want from an assassin in terms of single target damage and carry potential. And he's easy to escape with his 3 and engage with his 3. He doesn't rely on blink. So you don't see him so much because he doesn't have that AoE damage
Right.
that maybe Susano would have or Shiva. But he's a solid carry pick.
Yeah, it seems like he also has that quick farm thing where he can just you can throw the sand clone,
Absolutely.
teleport to it, get to everything quickly. That's going to help him out a
Yep.
ton. Robin, though, is a character, we sort of see more as counter picks. You know, he's got a good
Yep.
matchup into characters like, I don't know, Poseidon, for example,
That's
those
right,
big
yep.
ults with the immunity. But not seeing him all the time.
Yeah, I think he's been power creeped a little bit
Okay.
by the other newer junglers like Shiva, Gilgamesh, who just do more as the warriors that they are.
Right.
And you don't feel tanky with Robin anymore. He got that changed to an assassin. His CC is a little bit meh.
Right.
The root's pretty much the only thing, and it's a high cooldown. And it's the same thing where he only has that ultimate to leap over walls or leap anywhere. So I'd put him as a solid C. That you only want to be picking that character into your Poseidons, maybe Persephones, where you get a really good overhead kick value, basically.
Okay, so if you can make use of that immunity, you don't need to get the beads early. It's going to help you out a little bit, but still not doing as much as these characters up top.
sure.
So I like that placement here. Gilgamesh.
S.
Yeah, this is one of those characters we don't have to talk too much about. We just
Absolutely not.
we sort of know. I think Lair said the best Bumba's Hammer user in the game. Would you agree?
Agreed,
I mean,
completely agree.
Loki's pretty solid as well, but
Yep.
there is some options there. Just top tier right now. Very
Absolutely.
early pressure, late game pressure, everything you'd want.
He can kill anyone.
Right.
He's got great jungle matchups. You can buy berserkers on him and solo everyone. So he's
All right, well, easy as that. Ratatosker, though, has solid early game.
He's got a solid early game and a solid kit. I actually like his crit acorn a lot better
Okay.
now, as well as his stun acorn.
Right.
So he's got a couple of options. I'd put him at B.
Okay.
He's a solid jungle, but he often gets 1v1'd by a lot of the higher jungle picks.
Yeah, okay, so you want to avoid that fight, but if you're making use of that global pressure, you're going to win fights early game. Still going to be a solid choice there. Loki, though.
I'm going to put him at A.
Okay, I was going to say, he's got decent 1v1 once you get online. Slow early, but after that.
A solid 1v1 makes a big deal in
Right.
the jungle, and being good with Bumbas, Hammer in the late game makes you one of those characters that can play in the late game and kind of dominate a team fight.
All right. Well, Kleena, this is another one of those characters that, go ahead, just say it.
Okay, it's S.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, with Gilgamesh, I didn't want to cut you off because you just said S, and I was like, I feel like you're going to say that again. Strong in the solo lane, but also strong
She
in
does
jungle.
everything. She has pressure. She can kill any camp or objective in the game, as well as being able to kill any tank or squishy in the game. So she's just great.
She just brings everything you want. Being able to play through the wall is something that no one really knows how to play against right now. It's super annoying to try and deal with.
It's easy to not get hit and stay alive in a fight.
There you go. All right, well, what about Nemesis, though? Because we've seen a fair bit of Nemesis sort of coming back. The Berserkers and the Hydras buffs, I feel like, treated her pretty well, but now the Berserkers
Absolutely.
getting nerfs. What are
Yep.
your thoughts?
I'd give her a solid A.
Okay.
She kind of has just the perfect kit for assassins. She's really easy to play. You can't really mess up with her. It's not like you're going to miss your ult. Your 2's very easy to hit. And then as long as you're getting good with those auto cancels, same with Susano, with your dashes and your threes, you're pretty much good to go to carry a game and just like do your job as an assassin.
I was wondering, do you lean more towards a like ability-based build, or are you trying to always, besides Hydras, going like auto attack based?
I'd say a nice hybrid is good. Don't be afraid to go Jotuns or Brawlers or Crusher. Those three maces go well. Don't always get all three of them, but all the hybrid items work very well with us. So Berserkers is great. Hydras is great. You can go Heartseeker if you want. There's just a lot of diversity, and you can choose what you'd prefer to do more.
All right, well, that's going to be very helpful. Osiris, though, we've sort of seen coming back right now. Same for Soccer's running him a lot in the jungle. What do you think about Osiris?
Solid A.
Okay.
He's great with Berserkers, and that kind of allows him to one-on-one basically all the junglers on the list, so as long as he's not behind. And he does have a good Bumbers late game, too.
I was going to say, about that usually is the talking point of those sides is, can he carry in the late game? But if you can make use of Bumbers Hammer right now, your fight potential late game is still going to be pretty solid. Now, here's a pick that I have not seen in quite some time. What's happened with Pele?
I don't even know what to say about her. She doesn't heal enough to 1v1 anyone. She's very easy to kill. Her role isn't even as safe as something like Thanatos, where they can at least go up in the air and escape. Her role can be blocked if you blink behind her, and if you're ulting in, no character in the game has no counterplay to her ulting in. Like, you can just dash or jump away or just CC her if she blink ults. And so she's a solid D, probably the worst of any jungler you could play on this list.
All right, so just not enough going on for Pele right now. Do you think if she had more healing, she'd be better?
Maybe. She does have that early pressure. I don't think she synergizes with the starter items very well. She's not good mannequins, Bumbers, or Eye. She's okay with Eye, which is what you should go, but she doesn't really synergize with it that much.
All right, understandable. What about the Mercury, though? We don't see too much of this in the SPL besides like Sam, but I feel like he still brings a little something to the table, a little bit different play style.
He brings a lot. His gank is kind of the most unique of the whole jungle list. I'd give him a solid B. He can also kill objectives faster than pretty much any jungler on the list too. So he's got his strengths, and he's also got his weaknesses, where in a 5-man team fight, he struggles against stuff like Shell that he just can't fight into with his autos, and he'll just get one shot when he's not a tanky character. So
seems pretty one-dimensional, I guess you would say. He's going to ult in, he's going to try to Sonic Boom and just try to get some auto attacks. If he doesn't get any big crits or anything like that, not going to find the value. But you also have those games where you can just one-shot everyone.
For sure, yep.
All right, what about Naija, though? We talked a little bit about Naija on the previous tier list. What are your thoughts?
I want to put him in A.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say that for the average player, he should be in C.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do nothing on the character. You have to get very good with his ring tosses and his ults.
So do you want to meet in the middle of B, or are you going to say the C?
Let's go with B.
Okay.
As a happy middle. I think if you're an expert with this character, you can make him work. But he's very hard to make work.
Yeah, because beads in the ult is so telegraphed, it's really hard to make sure you're constantly landing Windfire Wheels. And if you're not using the ult, why are you even picking this character?
Yeah, and if you're sashing in and you're not ulting out, then you're just going to die. Yeah. So you got to be careful with the character.
All right, well, Camazot's sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum, where this ult is, you pretty much always get value out of it, where Naija ult you rarely do. What do you think about Camazot's?
I think he's a solid A, actually. I personally don't love the character, but he can build Berserkers and Hydras, and those items go well with him. He heals a lot. He's very hard to kill. Perhaps the hardest to kill character outside of possibly Cleaner and Shiva. And he is good with Bumbers if you want to do that. He's good with Eye if you want to do that. He's kind of just good at 1v1ing, so he's just a solid jungle pick.
Do you think that Camazotz has the same situation where Thanatos, where if you can't land that 2, whereas you can't land the Death Sight?
It's similar, but less punishing.
Okay, because of his safety.
Yeah, he can just 3 out. You can miss your 2, 3 out, and you don't lose your ult for missing one skill.
Okay, I was curious about that one. Daji, though, we see her pretty much banned away. Even if you're not picking these characters with no CC immune ults, you're still banning away these Dajis right now. What are your thoughts?
A little bit of analysis is basically that she has such a solid matchup into basically all the top meta junglers.
Right.
Like Gilgamesh, she's fine against Cleaner. She's okay against Shiva with knock-up immunity. She's great against Susano. So she kind of has those matchups that are really good for her. She doesn't get too punished. So she's a solid S, I'd say. if you can get really clean with her ults and knowing your damage when you can all-in someone, you often don't need to 3-out ever if you're just one-shotting someone. So she is a very solid jungler.
Just a very solid jungle v jungle matchup for that Dodge.
For sure, yep.
Erlang is one of those picks where you say you haven't seen him so much since the rework.
Nope.
I'm just trying to guess where you think he would be given that rework.
I think he'll be a solid B.
Okay.
He's still got early pressure, and with the damage reduction from his 1, he can probably take a lot of 1v1 fights and also beat carries with it, with that damage reduction. So that's where I'd guess. I honestly have no real idea, though.
Yeah, because we just haven't seen him too much. Obviously, he wasn't even available and ranked until just now. So we'll give it about a week or two, and then maybe we'll come back and check on that one, though. Hunbat is one of those characters, just really an ult bot. Doesn't have the greatest early game, has a solid late game if you can make use of it. What do you think about the monkey?
Yep, if you want to try to scale for late game, Hunbat is your pick. But to be honest, I kind of think he's a bad Susano in ranked.
Okay.
A lot of the time, he still gets owned by matchups like Daji while not having any early pressure. So I'd give him a B. He can carry late game really well. If you want to play maybe comp and you're interested in that, playing for a team, he shines in a more grouped up situation. So
if you're like 5-man comms and you can actually make use of the Fear No Evil, then he's going to be a lot better there. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Kali, though, is one of those characters, very strong late game, not the best early game, but it's also not terrible. What do you think?
I think she's a solid C.
Okay.
She's got a great Kins right now, is quite good, and she can be kind of a counterpick to characters like Cthulhu with a lot of health and no real way to escape. Maybe even like Kerberos too, where you can just chase them. Cabrakan too, and they don't really have a way to get away from you.
Right.
She's great with Kins, but she's more of a counterpick to tanks than a counterpick to carries.
Okay. All right, so that makes a lot of sense. She has a lot of shred in her kit, but if you can get to that late game point, pretty much everyone is going to die, so that makes a fair bit of sense. Poseidon, though, going to be one of the few mages that we see in that jungle role. He's very fast. What do you think?
He's very matchup dependent. I think if he's against half the junglers in this list, he's going to struggle a lot.
Right.
Characters like Gilgamesh, Daji, Shiva just absolutely dominate him. But as you go lower down the list, he can out-farm and outburst any of the assassins on the list. So I'm going to give him like a solid C.
Okay.
Where he's very niche. You kind of make him work with maybe ADC mid, Hunter mid, with like a Neith or something like an Ulla that can set up his Kraken. Then he can be fine. Okay,
now to talk about another one of these sort of support-style assassins that we see a bit in the jungle, the Fenrir. Similar to Circe in the fact that usually when you see that Fenrir locked in, you're thinking that was support. Now not so much. What do you think about Fenrir?
Fenrir's not great. I think I'd give him a C right now. There's a lot of interrupts to the Brutalize right now. He's okay against some of the meta junglers, but to be honest, I kind of don't think his damage is higher than theirs.
Right.
He does less as the game goes on.
Yeah, so one of those early game ults that you can get a fair bit of value on, but late game, everyone's got beads.
Yeah, you can get 1 or 2 picks, but it's one burn. You blink ult for 1 beads, and then your blink's not going to be up before their beads is maybe 20 seconds window.
And if you can't get use out of that Brutalize, it's like, why do you even have this? Okay.
Yep.
All right, then the last character on the list is going to be this Hebo. Another one of those mage jungles, a little bit more burst, some speed in the jungle. What are you thinking?
I think if you want to play a magical jungler, Hebo's the one to go to.
Okay.
I'd give him a solid A on the list. He's got great matchups. If his knockup gets a lot of value, and if he's not getting owned by something like a Brutalize, he always, if the longer he survives in a fight, the more over the fight's going to be, the more spouts he gets off. So if you're good at living and you want to kite, then Hebo's your pick, but he is a little bit niche. He's very easy to kill.
All right. Well, once you get a look at the final list here, is there anything you want to, any last-minute changes now that you're looking at everything, or you think this is all pretty solid?
I'd say it's pretty solid, yep.
All right, so if you guys get a good look at this one, make sure you take a screenshot and tweet at us. Tell us what you think about this. I give this my stamp of approval. If anyone wants to tell us what they think is different about this, we'll tell you why you're wrong. Twig, thank you so much for helping out, and thank you all so much for watching.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good.
Pretty good, pretty good.